sport. And now time to have a focus on our interview on Economics, where we talk economics. We're speaking to Stephen Kuria. Thank you very much, Stephen, and welcome to the program. Stephen is the Managing Director and Chairman of the Kenya-Australia Chamber of Commerce, and also in charge of the Australia Energy and Mining Institute, Australia Africa Energy and Mining Institute. Now talk to us about your mandate at the Australia Africa Energy Mining Institute.
Our mandate, thank you, Zawadi, for having me here. Our mandate has been very clear. One of the biggest shortage we have in Kenya is the capacity and expertise in the industry. The World Bank has been doing pretty well with the sponsorship of KETAP program, which is a technical building. However, we're still seeing that touching very high level. So AMI, or Australia Africa Energy Mineral Institute, our focus is first to target on the top level, basically the executive and the mid-tier manager, to understand the baseline of oil and gas, technically and the soft skills. But the thing is where we think we're going to make a little major change and major differences is when we actually start looking at welders and the guy who are just doing pipeline constructions. Because as you know, the last time we are importing these sort of skills, even today as I walk in Gong Road, I see some of the drivers there driving are coming from India or different places. So we see that is where our youth need employment, and as the President was talking yesterday, we really need to make sure that our youth are engaged in a process, and this is one of the processes to do so.
So in your overview, what is the current situation of the industry in Kenya, and how does it compare to Australia, which I believe is the benchmark of mining in the world?
Yes, we are a benchmark of mining and oil and gas in both in the same breath. So in worldwide, we see there is a slow demand, oversupply of oil. So we see that the price will remain about 60 to 70, mainly about 60. So that's good for reducing inflation. So it's good for economy. But now diving back to Kenya, Kenya we are still only have the rock-share explorations, and that's what we have at this stage. But I think we need to speed our process in terms of the government's approvals. And then we also have to stop treating like every block is a rock chair, because I'm sure they're all different blocks in the different areas. So those are, and obviously there is a oil and gas bill that actually need to be dealt with. I was presenting at the mining conference last week. We also see there's a 1% world growth in mining, but we also need to move fast and also increase our GDP. If you look at mining, at the moment we have one mine which support 1% of GDP of Kenya. Imagine for us having 15 mines or 16 mines, which is very doable. Australia, by next year, will be the largest exporter, the first exporter of LNG in the world, beating Qatar. Oil, we are actually pretty strong there. We are first in iron ore, second in gold. So you can see these things have been done for the last 100 years. And we can leapfrog, as Dan Kazungu keeps saying, we leapfrog. We can leapfrog what a lesson we have learned. Personally, as a Kenyan, that's what I feel I want to give it to my people, so we don't wait too long, because as you see, the oil price is going down.
Specifically, what are some of the interventions that yourselves have done, Kenyans in Australia within this industry, to try and rope up the industry here in Kenya?
We have actually signed some MOU with the County of Governors to actually drive that to the county level. Because there you have Minister of Energies in a county that need to understand what is actually. We have also signed a MOU with the Kenya Pipeline to drive the Modern Day Institute, to support Modern Day Institute to be able to train technical welders and those kind of people. We're also working with other University of USIU. We are having conversation with them about auto executive level, because executive, they don't understand it. They can't allow some people to go benchmark in other different places.
And I think one of the issues that have really affected African nations, and particularly Kenya, in trying to rope up this industry is the need to have a specific regulatory framework that players can operate under. Most of these regulations date to independence.
Yes.
What can we do as a country to get there?
There has been a progress. We have seen a mining bill being passed, although it still has its own challenge at the moment. Very few challenges which have been addressed. Oil and gas is equally, they are changing the bills. But personally, I've seen there's been a copy and paste on some of these bills, which is why they need to be debated and they actually been looked at in Parliament. But there is a progression. If you look at mining, there is progression. So that bill is there. That's now the time to do action if we want to achieve the progress in the next 5 years. Yes.
Now, let's look at what Kenya portends, or what portends for Kenya, and compare that to Uganda, that discovered oil, for example, ahead of Kenya. It looks like they're making faster progress compared to Kenya. We are at the point where we already have our oil, but we do not have the infrastructure to dispatch it from Lokicha.
It is true. I would say Ugandans, there's a lot of talk. I was there last year in May to have a look at that progress. There's still a lot of conversations going on there. The actions is completely different from when you get it on the ground. Kenya, we talk about Ari oil moving from Lokicha. I think they still a need to be patient with the industry, because there's no need of taking trucks and moving it where we can actually put a permanent pipeline. And again, we don't know what the future. We could drill another hole and be able to find another discovery. So my view is that obviously the refinery, everything have to be ready for us to hit the market pretty well. And I think it will boost. Also looking at, we talk about manufacturing. The president talked about manufacturing. I know we have some gas as well in places like Mandela. If we move manufacturing to where the energy is, as we are doing in Naivasha, is actually very good for economy, because you're working on a power source. So those are stuff that we have to think outside the box, rather than just thinking of moving stuff left and center. Yeah.
Very interesting remarks right there. But most of the players in this industry here in Kenya, what I would call artisanal miners, people who do this, some form of subsistence business. They are not quite captured under the frame of regulation. And how do these people compare to best practices in Australia?
That's actually a passion of mine, because these artisan miners, Kenyans, I had them being called Zururas. They are the people, they are what we call canary of mines. Is when we see artisan miners working, that's when we know there's gold or there's copper. And we are not looking after them. In Migori, I know there's a couple of guys got buried underneath. I know the application of things like cyanide and also mercury is very common. Explosive as well are very common. So we have a program actually which we presented to the Minister of Mines about teaching these artisan miners about health and safety, about the way of operation, even just normal business sense. You just don't mine and trying to sell stuff. As the president says, create a value chain. This is an individual, he feed the family, he stay down a hole for 9 hours, so we should be able to look after these people. And we have more artisan miners than we have the big major mining companies. So we are fellow brothers, we see that's what we need to attack. Rather than just talk from high level, we also need to talk from the ground level. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. Speaking to Stephen Kuria, who is the Managing Director of Australia Africa Energy Mining Institute, and talking to us about best practices across the world. Australia is actually the benchmark for oil and gas here in the world, and therefore very interesting remarks to get right there.